Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our December edition of the AnCan Art Friends. This is our final class of 2022, and thankfully this will not be the final class at all. I believe, Hannah, we may have riots if we did that. So I don't have many announcements to make tonight, so I'm going to hand it off to you. Tell us, what do we need? What are we going to be doing tonight? Tell us all of the facts.
Yay, thank you, Alexa. And you're correct. Last project of 2022, but definitely not our last at all. We're going to be doing an acrylic painting. So as you can see, I have two of them here, although of course we're only going to be doing one. So birch trees. I've been wanting to paint more trees for a while, but especially birch trees too. Those in particular are very easy and very fun to paint. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I have here canvases. Well, of course, I'm using canvas board, but please, canvases are my preferred method of painting. And we have here acrylic paints. So I have here a lot of white paint because this one does use a lot of white. So make sure you have that handy. I have our tree color, so it's going to be a brown. As for our background color, we have a blue. However, you may also use teal if you would like, or if you have teal. In fact, you can see teal back here. That's what I use for most of the background for this one. However, this one I use just the blue, which you can see here. And then purple as well. So let me put this back here. The teal is the optional one. I have purple. And then down here, I can see yellow. So like I said, a lot of white paint. Most of these colors here, we only use a little, just small amounts of those to varying degrees. And then I also have red because I have some cardinal birdies here as well. Please feel free to choose whatever color bird you would like to choose. If you need help choosing maybe some winter colors, please let me know and I can help you with that as well. I have red and I also have black for the cardinals, for the birds. And then back over here, I actually added a few tan looking birds. Got one right there. I have one little guy right up here, hard to see, tiny little guys. So just to recap, I got white, brown, birdie colors, so red and black, purple, blue, and yellow. And all of those are in the chat as well, if you missed all of that. As for brushes, I have two different ones and a third optional one. So put that down for now. So my main brush is going to be this flat brush right here. This one is 3/4 of an inch, but if you have anything smaller than that, that's fine. Even if you have a little bit larger than that, that's also fine as well. In order to get the smaller branches, we'll be using either this part of the brush, kind of like that, the skinnier side, or we can use a round brush. And I happen to have a size 8 round. But these things are they're not standardized. So you might have a size 8 and it might look a little bigger or a little smaller. They're not standardized. So something around this size. And if you happen to have anything smaller, perfect as well. So you're on the right track. And an optional tiny brush, kind of can see the difference right there. This tiny brush can be used to create more branches. It can definitely be used to create your birdies as well. Again, optional. I will show you how to use both of these brushes. So other than that, we will need some water, some napkins, and a palette or perhaps a paper plate, just something to put your paint on. Do I have any questions? Oh yes, size of canvas. If you're wondering what I'm using right here, this is 9 inches by 12 inches. So anything around that margin is perfectly fine as well. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. So I'll give you guys a moment to gather those things. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pour some of my paints out. I always like to line up my colors right in front of me too. It just kind of helps my brain to organize everything. You can organize your colors according to, I don't know, according to process, according to rainbow order. That's normally what I do. So I have my white, and then my red, my yellow. What comes after that? I just have to think about that. And then we're not using green, so, or orange. So I got my blue right next to that, then purple, then black and brown. I always have to think about it. Oh, thank you so much, Alexa, for writing that in the chat. That is perfect. Yes, totally helps with organizing everything in my head. So I'm also going to pour out my background colors. I have a good amount of that blue. I mentioned earlier, you could use teal if you want to instead of blue. Or you could use like perhaps a darker yellow. This one's just called mustard yellow. If you want for the bottom here. So again, those are optional. And I'm also going to pour out my purple as well. So we're going to create the background, and the background is going to serve as a base. This is going to be what all of our trees are going to rest on. Do I have any questions so far?
You did white, blue, and purple?
Yep, correct. White, blue, and purple. I'm probably going to end up pouring more white than that, but I always like to do just a little at a time. So, and yes, so the colors again, we're going to need a lot of white paint. We're going to need some blue or teal as an option. We're going to need purple, yellow, brown, red if you like to have cardinals for your birds, but if you want whatever colors you want, you're more than welcome to use those, and black. All of these guys here.
I have a quick question about purple.
Mhm.
The only purple I have is lilac. So I know how to go lighter with colors, but how do, like, you look like you have a pretty dark purple.
Yeah, actually I intended on making it lighter.
Oh, okay.
But if you do want to make it darker, add a little bit of that blue to it.
Okay.
Yeah, just enough to tint it more of a darker version of it. Not enough to make it turn blue again.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're more than welcome to mix that up ahead of time. All right. More questions? I love it when y'all have questions. Throw them at me.
Do you ever use these?
I do. Yeah, I do use those, but they get really messy, and like I tend to just go outside of the little pockets anyway, so it's like
Oh, okay.
doesn't really matter for me.
Okay.
I'm a very messy painter. If you couldn't tell already by my
Yeah.
lovely palette. Okay, so let's get rid of this guy. All right, so our background has a lot of texture. And I'll show you guys too. I'm gonna try not to go over my brush strokes again and again and again, because you'll find that if you were to do that, go over your brush strokes again and again and again, you'll end up blending in a lot of those beautiful brush strokes. So you'll want to just kind of brush them in and then go. Okay. And just so you guys know, I'm actually repurposing this canvas, and that's why it looks a little bit off color. I painted it white. This is how I save my canvases, because I paint so many things and I gotta repurpose them somehow. Okay.
When you paint them, do you use special paint so you can't see through it? When you paint them?
Yes, actually, I use what is it?
Gesso?
Either gesso, or I use paint primer, like the kind of primer that you get like at Home Depot or Lowe's or something. I just have a small, I actually have it right here. I have a small little bottle primer. So primer, and I have this guy right here. I can't believe I have this right here. A little roller that I roll on top of it. So
Oh yeah, like the cabinet roller things.
Yeah. So I just kind of, I have a painting session day where like I'll gather a whole bunch of them together and I'll lay them all out and I'll prime them all in one sitting so I have them ready for myself.
I will give everyone some perspective real quick. I happened to have a meeting with Hannah right after, and it looked like she massacred a bunch of snowmen. She had white paint on her person, and I'm like, do we need to get you a lawyer? I mean, I don't know. So
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
I have been there when she's done it.
Yeah. I like how you were just like, do I just need to get you a lawyer? We'll figure this out.
I went to painting with a twist with my relatives, and they all gave me their same pictures. And so I want to repurpose these beautiful canvases. So I'm going to paint them all white with primer now.
Yeah, it's a really cheap, like economical way to save all these canvases because like I have so many canvases that I'm just like I don't like them anymore. I want to get rid of them. So that's how you do it.
Because gesso is expensive.
It is.
So
It
primer
is.
is much cheaper, right?
It is. And in this day and age, in the 21st century, you don't need gesso. Gesso was
Yay.
invented a million years ago. We don't need it anymore. So just use primer.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's make a background. So as you're painting this, again, you might find that a lot of your brushstrokes just kind of disappear. So I'll show you how you can leave them alone and let them be. Just let them be brushstrokes. Most of our background is going to be lighter in color. And when I grab my paints, I'm going to grab a lot of it. Do you guys see that it's like a whole glob right there? So I'm going to set it aside. And I told you, we're going to use a lot. Set your glob of white paint aside and then tap a little bit of your blue paint. Mix it all up together. And whenever I mix, I like to keep it all concentrated within the same area. Like I try to like scoop into the center as much as I can and just kind of scoop it out, flatten it a little bit. That's how you mix. Now, even for me, I feel like that's a little bit dark. So even if yours is a little bit lighter, I'm gonna darken it up just a little bit actually, because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go and double dip into our white paint. So because of that, I'm actually gonna pour a little bit more out. That's just me. Poured a little bit more. This little section right here is for double dipping. So I have this mixed light blue right here on my paintbrush. Let's double dip some white into there. We're gonna go and start at the bottom here and go back and forth, almost like we are sweeping, but with both sides of our brush, back and forth. Notice how I had a lot of paint on my brush, and that's a good thing. We definitely want that large amount of paint so that we can keep going further, faster. Go take it all the way to the edges. And if you're actually using a proper canvas, then go ahead and take this moment to paint the sides. So I just have a canvas board, so I really don't have too much of a side to worry about, but you guys will have actual sides. So paint those as you're moving along your canvas. Now, I mentioned earlier, we want those brush strokes, right? And as you can tell, I was able to actually get rid of those brush strokes, but I don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my white paint here. And I'm going to go over it one by one by one with more and more and more of this white paint. Now, of course, it's going to blend because, of course, all of this it's wet. It's wet blue. However, we do want to leave the majority of that brushstroke alone and just let it be a brushstroke. Let it live on the canvas as your signature. And then keep on moving up. And if you're like me, you probably didn't make enough paint. So I'm going to make even more paint by scooping up some more white. tapping a little bit more blue. We want to make our way all the way to the top. Now, once we get there, we'll get there in a moment, but once we do get there, we're going to add a little bit more blue, and we're going to make it darker up here. But we'll get there. But for now, let's kind of concentrate on this area, leaving those brush strokes, putting some white brush strokes on there, and just kind of leaving that texture alone and just letting it exist. Let the brushstroke be the brushstroke. Any questions? All right. Yeah, so again, we want that texture. I like to think of it as a light breeze. We're kind of painting a light breeze in the background. And I just want to show you what my palette looks like every time I mix a little something, because you can definitely see how it gets messy so quickly. It's hard to keep your...
I should be doing the edges of my board all the way around.
Yes, yes. Do the edges of your canvas all the way around, just kind of as you get to that point.
Okay.
Because I like to I'll just pretend I have edges right here. I just like to smooth it over as I get there. It makes it more even that way. Yeah, for me, it's just a lot more economical and space saving to not use canvases.
Right.
But of course, if I were doing like a painting for me, like my own kind of imagery, then yes, I would totally be using a canvas. Now I need even more white paint now. Don't be afraid to use a lot of paint. And definitely take a look at your canvas. It can be a little bit deceptive sometimes because it's kind of hard to see your progress and gauge how much paint you're using and whether or not it's good. If you see the whites, like white little dots popping up, like I see some right here, then just go over those portions again, and you may have to spread your brush strokes out a little bit more. But we definitely want to make sure that we're covering those white spots and really filling those hard to see pockets, like that texture of the canvas. We want to fill it up. There we go.
Whoa.
And in a moment, I don't want to wait too long, but in a moment, I will add some blue paint right on top of that.
And
I want to make the top part darker.
What color blue are you calling that? I can't find a blue that I like.
Well, this one is called 2 Blue. It's I don't know how well you can see that.
It has like almost a little lavender tinge.
Mine doesn't, but you could certainly do that.
Oh, you know what? I see it on your painting. That's where I see the lavender.
Oh yeah, you see that one, don't you? Yeah, I'm straight from the bottle. It looks like this right here.
Did you say put white on it, but then don't let the white show up? Is that right?
Do let the white show up.
Oh, do.
Yeah. The opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. We want that texture to show through.
Okay.
You got it. Now it will take a bit of time to dry, and that's why we're going to leave this area alone for a while. You guys can see this yellow that we have right here in between the trees. Now, this yellow, when you mix it with blue, it's going to make green. So that's why we want to keep this dry for now. So, and that's why we started at the bottom. We want this to dry up, but we don't want this to dry up. That's why we kind of traveled upward. So
the white is the bottom.
Yep,
Okay.
right down here.
I was doing mine sideways, so.
All over the place.
Yes, that was.
Oh, keep in mind too that we actually will add more white later too, and I haven't mentioned that yet. We will add more white to the bottom in a little bit. Okay, so I want to make this area at the top look a little bit darker. So while it's still wet, so when I say wet, I really mean that it's very shiny. So it normally, of course, depending on your brand, but normally the paint will become more matte as it dries. So it's very wet up here. It's wet looking up here. So I'm going to take my light blue here, the one that I made, and I'm going to get some more. Just going to kind of make sure that it's just in there. And then I'm also going to I'm going to double dip into my blue right here. Just a little bit for now. I can always add more later, depending on how I like it. And I'm going to start on the side here, and I'm going to sweep it across. Now it's still pretty wet, at least mine is. So it's fairly easy to blend these brush strokes. We want to make it look choppy. In fact, it's hard to tell, but both of these pictures, it looks very choppy. And I think you can see it a little bit more right here. It looks very choppy. So if it really is not blending at all with your painting, that is absolutely okay. This picture in particular, it really all looked separate at first, but it all came together later whenever I put the birch trees on top of it. So again, I'm gonna swipe again and again and again, more of that blue. And I do want a good portion of the background, like that baby blue. I do want that to shine through. You know, I'm not going to completely cover it in this blue. Just gonna put it in there, swipe it in there, back and forth like this, and then I'll leave it alone. Any questions on that? I know that was very, very vague. That was very abstracted. So let me know if you guys have questions.
So you just used the plain blue and did the swiping at the top. I'm sorry, I'm a little behind on you.
Yeah, you're good. That is basically what I did, but before I grabbed the blue, I did want to make sure that I got the baby blue onto my brush first.
Okay.
So I get the baby blue and then tap a little bit of the dark blue.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we at least want to have some of that baby blue in the brush as a backup. It's going to help to blend a little bit.
Okay.
So that lavender purple that you guys are seeing here, again, it's very vague. It's very, very, I guess, loose in the way that we're putting it in there. And like I mentioned earlier, it didn't quite blend in. And I think that's because when I was doing this painting right here, it was pretty dry by the time I went down and put it in this middle area right here. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't quite, you know, seem like it fits. Actually, I think this one was even more cloudy, I guess, back here. So what I'm going to do is, once again, go back to my baby blue spot. And at least for me, it's kind of drying up a little bit, but it's just enough that I can still go in and get a little bit more and even like smush around what's already in the brush. And then also maybe get a little more white paint. If yours is pretty dry, then yeah, maybe you should get a little more white paint like me. And then tap a little bit of purple. Just small amounts at a time. It's not very much. And then right underneath the blue and even on top of the blue a little. Swipe it in there. Same exact brush strokes as we've been doing. Need to get a little more white. That white paint's really going to help it to blend a little bit better. So I got that white paint here, put it on my baby blue spot. Again, it's going to help. It's going to act as a buffer, I should say. And then tap a teensy bit of my purple. Swipe it in there. It's very dark right now, but if I were to squish my brush down a bit more, then I'm getting that reserve of white paint in baby blue. It's that reserve that's inside the brush. And we don't need a lot. If you want more than this, you're more than welcome to add a lot more. If you want less than that, that's okay too. And you can really see the texture of the canvas flowing through with this one, because we don't have as much of this purple. Because of that, that's why we're seeing this texture. Let your textures shine. Let the brush strokes come through. It's what we're here for. We're here for paint. Painterly brush strokes. Once you are satisfied and happy with the amount of purple that you've got, finally we can rinse our brushes once you're done. Any questions though before I do that on mine? Cool. You guys are rock stars. I cannot wait until I see the finished pieces later.
That's the best part of class, isn't it?
I know it is. Like, it's the unraveling of all these
Yep.
different pictures.
And just as a very quick FYI, if you would like to show us or if you need to go early, please just let me know in the chat, unmute yourself, wave your arms, whatever you need to do to get our attention. And we want to spotlight you if you have to go. So that's your PSA for tonight.
Thank you, Alexa. Okay, so just so you know, in case you don't exactly know what you're doing when it comes to even rinsing the brushes, I'll just show you. So I like to bounce my brush up and down in the middle of my cup. Of course, be careful if you have like a ceramic cup or a glass cup, of course. And then I like to check it. That's still quite a lot of paint on there on the brush. So I can always take it and wipe it on my napkin and then go right back in, bounce it up and down again. When I bounce up and down, I'm going to try to bend the bristles like this. See that? See how they're all bending together. I'm just exaggerating so you guys
You don't
can
want
see it.
to sprawl them all out, splay them all out. Is that what you're saying?
Correctly. Yeah, correct.
Gotcha.
Don't want to splay them all out. You want to bend them all together.
Yeah, that's my fancy art term, splaying the.
We
Right.
only use we only use fancy terms here.
I'm impressed.
Well, really though, your bristles, they work as a team. Like they're all on the same area together, and you want them to be cohesive pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. That's my PSA of the day. And I do want to dry it off as well. So definitely have a napkin or two. You know, sometimes I need to, but I only have one because my brain doesn't always think ahead. Now, I mentioned earlier that we will be putting a little bit more white paint on the bottom down here. And that extra little bit of white paint serves as like a buffer or like a bed that the yellow paint can rest on top of, especially if it's not quite dry. Mine's pretty dry, so I'm feeling pretty safe about it, but still, we're not going for green. However, if you want green, I'm not going to stop you. You put green in there, okay? Totally fine. So let's get some white. Okay. Now I'm just going to grab some, again, brush it back and forth on either side. And then I'm going to put it in there the same way I put everything else in there. Now, at this point, I can actually hear the paintbrush against the canvas, and that's great. I love that noise. I feel like it's very soothing.
Are we just doing white now? Is that right?
Yes, just
Okay.
white.
And your brush, does it matter? Like you seem to be brushing in an up down motion.
Yeah, it's like back and forth, but also up and down. In fact, it's all in my wrist. When I move back and forth, it's my wrist that's moving. Again, this serves as a bedding for the yellow. And I like to think of that yellow as the sunshine that's sort of like on the grass not the grass, on the snow in the background. It's very abstractly put, but you know, that's what it reminds me of. And I want to show you the differences between the two types of yellows that I have. Of course, every paint set's going to be different. You guys may not have the same as I do. This one right here is made using this lemony yellow. So you guys can see that. This one right here is made using this mustardy yellow. The difference is a lot more apparent in person. So I guess on camera it doesn't quite look this. It looks pretty much the same, but there is a big difference. So I thought I would point it out. So use whichever one you have or whichever one you want to use. I will stick with the lemony yellow just because it's bright. And I'm not going to need a lot, really. I'm going to set it aside away from my other colors because I don't want them to really mix. So I set it right about here. I'm going to go ahead and grab some more white and then tap or double dip a little bit of yellow. So not very much. And again, I can always add more later. I'm going to go right on top of my white brush strokes, the ones that I just added here. And I'm going to just kind of go back and forth. Same thing. Grab more white, tap a little bit more yellow. And then I can add as much or as little as I want. If you want, you can have it spread up a little bit even. It's up to you. You can have it crisscross with the not yellow, the purple if you want to. You can have it go over the sides a little bit. Just thinking out loud. If you feel like it's a little too much yellow, you can even go back and grab a little bit of white paint, go over it with just a little bit of white. And then you can rinse your brush again.
Bless you.
Bless you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's okay if these areas look separate from one another. They'll all come together later, because I mentioned with this painting, they definitely looked separate. Like it didn't quite look cohesive, but the birch trees, they really help that quite a lot. So you can rinse your brush when you're ready. Now, if it felt like I was speeding through that portion, it's because I want to give you guys plenty of time for our trees and for our birdies. Because I was surprised. It took me a little bit longer than I thought it would. But who knows? Maybe you guys will be faster.
Oh.
You never know. People have surprised me. Like classes really have surprised me. I used to teach a version of painting with a twist, but it was like a local San Antonio groups and the paintings that I thought were a little bit more difficult, like the whole class did so much so much more quickly than I did. Fun times. I kind of miss that. So I'll let y'all finish that up. Now, I did mention, again, we're using a lot of white paint, and the same is true for our trees. So it's really mostly white paint and a little bit of brown, really. Of course, that depends on your colors too and how they mix together. Andrea, how are you liking your paint set?
I'm loving it, but I'm about out of white.
Wow. Okay. I'm surprised they didn't give you 2 tubes.
I know.
Wow.
I think I have an older set of paint that I never even opened from like a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But
So
I've
you might-
still got half a tube.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully you'll be good. I think you'll be good.
I think I'll be good.
Do you find, so I actually have 3 different whites in this set. There's a white gloss, another white different gloss, and then a matte snow white.
Wow.
Does matte
Oh.
versus snow or matte versus gloss matter?
Not
Matte?
well, so glossy is going to be more shiny,
Yeah.
so it's going to have more of that wet look. And then matte is actually exactly what I use here. Like it's not shiny at all.
Okay.
Later on, if the differences between the 2 textures bother you, you can always spray it with an acrylic, what is it, like acrylic varnish.
Oh.
I have some here. I'm continually amazed at how much I have like in my vicinity.
You do. Every time somebody asks, you're like, well, I have some right here. Let me show you.
Well, I just happen to have.
Seriously, that happened the other day. Like somebody was talking about a particular picture of mine. And I was like, hold on, I have it like right there. I'm looking at it right there.
That's so funny.
But this is, I really like this, this brand of acrylic sealer. So Krylon acrylic coating is what it says. So that's really going to help to even everything out.
Okay, and then that preserves it too.
It does, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, especially if you have it in the sun, like if you happen to, decide to hang it up or put it in some place with a lot of sun, it's going to preserve it for a lot longer than the paint itself would be preserved.
Okay.
Hannah, can I show you where I'm at just because
Yeah.
I think it looks really cool, but since I can't go and then we're gonna so
Yeah,
like
go
I
ahead.
think it's just tell me if it's I'm impressed that it came out as whatever.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
That
Oh
looks
my,
really good so far, Karen.
yeah, seriously.
So is there just anything that I should like more or less of or keep in mind?
No, honestly, you are doing exactly
Wow.
it's exactly where it needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I can't wait for like the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
It amazes me how you do that on the computer, Karen.
Mhm.
With my left hand and I have no art background.
Exactly.
Really?
I mean, I just try different things, like I use the paintbrush tool. I painted everything white and then I use the watercolor and I can vary the strength of it.
Yeah,
Do
the
you use the
strength.
undo button a lot or?
No,
Oh, wow. Huh.
I pretty much only do the undo button when I'm like, let me try this. I pretty
Trying
much
something
try
new,
to
yeah.
I follow what you're doing. I did all the yellow and I'm like, all right, I'll throw some white on there. She said white, I'll do the same thing.
I love it. Well, let's do some trees.
I
Yay.
mean, my top is really wet. That's okay?
Oh, like so your paints are still very wet?
Yeah, I accidentally touched it and wow.
Really?
wait?
I would wait. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it mostly the yellow or is it all the colors?
It's everything.
Is
I
everything? Okay.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is fun. So I just kept adding more and more.
I love that.
I'll paint it.
You can get a
Okay.
hair dryer if you need to. If you have
Yeah,
one,
you
or you
can.
can get something and you can just go
Mhm.
Southern style with no AC and just go up exactly like Brandy's doing. Just do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Brandy, Marianne, yeah, you guys have the
I
right
don't have
idea.
a hair dryer.
Southern style, you kind of lost me, but it's all right. I don't need a
You're in
headband.
So Hannah, your
Um,
brown looks really light. Like I've got
it
like a
is.
raw brown, a raw sienna, and a gold ochre.
Yes, so those are all very strong colors. So I would use the raw brown or raw umber that you
Okay,
have a little bit. So it's actually mostly going to be white.
gotcha. Okay.
Very strong color. So Brandy and really anybody else who has very wet paintings, I have a lot of trees. In fact, I cannot count them. I will not count them. So I will just keep on repeating myself again and again. And if you need to hear it even more, that's okay. I'll keep repeating myself. So yeah, and honestly, we can even wait like another minute or two.
Oh, you mean you're saying we're not gonna count the trees? You're just gonna do a tree
No,
and
I'm
then
just
like
gonna
a
do it.
tree and
Yeah.
another tree? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do it really. Um, I feel like counting the trees really, I don't know, it puts it in your head that you have a goal to reach, and we don't have a goal. The only goal is to put some trees in. So, not gonna count, just gonna go for it. And this is where if you haven't rinsed your brush, then definitely rinse it now. And we will, for anybody else who's like Andrea and has a very, very dark brown, we'll be mixing our light brown ahead of time. So you know how in the beginning we mixed the light blue and then we also double dipped in white. Well, we're going to do the same thing with the brown. We're going to mix a light brown and we're going to double dip in white. So that way it's much lighter this way. So I went ahead and poured it out. I'm going to scooch some aside here, grab a little bit of brown, and again, mix everything together. Now, in case anybody's wondering, the brown that I'm using, it's actually called nutmeg brown. I mean, I know you can't see it, but it's called nutmeg brown. So that kind of gives you a sense of the exact color I'm starting from.
Well, it sounds delicious.
It does. It does.
Hannah, we have a question. Wendy does not
Yes.
have brown. How can Wendy get her
Ah.
brown?
Oh, if you don't have brown.
Make brown all the time
Ooh.
accidentally.
Yeah, how can you make brown? I want to say you could actually have gray birch trees too. So that's an idea. You would very much mix can I use a pencil? Oh, I don't know how that would work, like with the coloring. I've actually never done that before. Like mixing,
Orange and black.
yeah, I think like orange and black will do the trick.
I remember
What
that
is
from
it?
grade school.
Purple. Yeah, well,
And you did the very first lesson. You had colors like orange and
mhm.
something else, maybe green, and you went, don't mix them, they'll turn brown. And they did. And I don't remember what they were. And I was like, oh,
Uh-huh. Those are, yep, complementary colors. So like orange, yeah, orange and blue, or perhaps purple and yellow, or even a combination of like all those colors together will probably make brown. So it really
Hannah, I
depends.
have consulted Google. Apparently, if you mix the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you will make brown. You'll get
Whoa.
there.
That
You want light
sounds like
brown.
it. Yeah.
You want light brown, right?
Well,
then you
from
add
there
white.
you would mix white. So I would start, if you're mixing anything, start with a small amount. So you would use your small brush, whichever one you've got, and test it a little bit first. So yeah, you know what? Why don't I do this real quick? Since we have some people waiting for things to dry, why not? Little bit at a time is perfect. So I have my red there, and I'm putting it next to my blue, and then I'm putting down my There we go. My yellow. Okay. So let's see if this works. A little red, a little yellow, maybe about an even amount of all of them. Start off for now. Now that's looking purple to me. So I'm going to balance it out with yellow. Because yellow is the opposite of purple. So I want more of that. That's looking pretty browny to me.
Yeah.
And if I were to mix it with some white, this is what it would look like. It actually looks more of an ash gray. It's very ashy to me,
Oh, yeah.
but it's perfectly a birch tree color. And honestly, it amazes me what colors look like together when they're right next to different colors, other colors. So this is probably exactly what we need. I could even go here and put it right on, and it fits right into the birch trees. I think I just discovered a color I really like now. Thank you for that, Alexa. Thank you for looking that up.
That's my job, Hannah. I'm here to assist you.
Thank you.
But you do so much more.
You do. You
Thank
really
you,
do.
Karen.
All right, guys. So while you guys are mixing your colors, I have my lighter version of brown, and I'm gonna go ahead and double dip into my white paint here. And I will probably need to make a lot more than that, but I'll get to it when I get to it. So I always like to start with the trees that are close to the edge, because they're not bothering anybody. They're just kind of like, if you mess up, you mess up. It's all right. And these, well, trees in general, it's good to just remember that they're going to be a little bit larger or thicker at the bottom than they are at the top. And I know when I do trees like this, I tend to accidentally make them a little bit larger at the top. It's just an accident. So I'm going to start off pretty thin, and I'm going to move my way up, and then I'm going to swipe up and down. Starting on the side. And I definitely don't want a tree that's completely rigid up and down. In fact, I moved it a little bit. You'll notice that your brush might want to just splay at the top, like the bristles just naturally want to splay apart. And that's okay, just kind of think about it. Anytime you go to refill your brush, go and refill first with your light brown, and then double dip in white, and then go right back over your tree. Eventually, as you're going over these brush strokes again and again, you'll notice that they're going to leave some streaks. We want to keep some of those streaks. In fact, every once in a while, I'm going to go back, and while it's wet, actually, so I'm just going to work on one tree at a time, but while it's wet, I'm going to go and double dip into brown just a little bit.
So all your trees are going to the top of the page, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They're all going to the top. When I double dip into that brown, it's going to give me some of those brown streaks that are uneven. And we're going for uneven here. We're going for streaky and uneven. So you can double dip into white. You can double dip into brown. You may also notice that some of your edges may not be completely not straight. You might be able to see a little bit too much texture, as if you need more paint on the side. So what you can do in those instances, let me show you, because I want to show you a little closer. See how it's not completely it's not a straight line on the side here. You can see the canvas texture. So Gonna go back and I'm gonna make sure I have a lot of paint on my brush. Like that. And in these instances, when I need to clean up a line or a side here, I can use the thin side of my brush. As long as I have a lot of paint on there, use the thin side, hold it up and down. I want you guys to see I'm holding it up and down like it's standing up tall. And I'm going to swipe it and shape it on the side. And that's it. And I can refill my brush again. And once again, get more paint, refill, get more paint, stand it up nice and tall, very confident brush, and then swipe it. And then it'll give me that clean line. And you can also see that it looks even more streaky after that. Let's keep it like that. We're looking for texture, and that's one way to get that texture. So, in case you need me to repeat all of that, I have a million more trees to do. So let's do this. Deborah says she will. Okay, cool. You'll have to watch the video and do it again. Good to see you, Deborah. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for coming, Deborah. We hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Okay. Now I did mention that I will probably have to make more paint. So here I go.
So if I have obviously just way too much paint, like it's not drying, there's like big, not chunks, but can I take a dry paintbrush and try to like, spread it around or?
Oh, yeah, you could do that. It'll definitely flatten it.
Yeah.
I would avoid the yellow areas though.
Yeah.
So
It's just the purple. I got too heavy handed and it's like, when I look, I'm like, oh, it's dry. And then I turn it, I'm like, oh no.
not dry. Yeah, you could definitely like rinse your brush really well and then go over it and it will spread it. So you may have to counter that with a little bit of white. That's a little tricky.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just have all trees, lots of trees.
All trees, yeah. Another thing you could try, I have to think about it for a second.
I was
You could try actually getting some napkins and maybe trying to like scoop up some of it. You'd have to like get a napkin, scoop a little, move it to another side. It'll get messy, but you could try it.
okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to make another tree and I'm going to jump on this side now because even though our trees are all different shapes and, different sizes,
I'll go outside.
I still want to try to balance it out a little bit as a whole. So I'm going to jump to this side and let's put another tree. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to start at the bottom. Let's start at the bottom. And then again, I'm going to wiggle my brush a little bit because I don't want it to be totally a straight line. Paying attention to my brush because, like I said, my brush kind of wants to splay, especially at the top. And our trees are supposed to be thicker at the bottom, not at the top.
Why don't you start at the top then?
Well, I have to go back and forth, so
Oh, okay.
it's kind of, yeah, it's one of those things gotta kind of just have to watch out for. So I want to put those streaks in there and I also want to clean up some lines. So I'm gonna grab my brown, gonna double dip in white. Let's just kind of put some streaks in there and give it a little bit more body. Gonna leave some of my brush strokes alone just for texture. Like that choppy brush stroke right there. I like that personally, so I figured I'd point it out to you just in case you guys have other spots like that. Looking for texture. So now I can balance it out with a little bit of the extra brown. So I'm going to refill with my light brown, tap a little bit of the regular dark brown, and start all over again. There you have it. Now I feel like, I'm just talking out loud right now, I feel like that's a little bit dark, so I'm going to counter it with a bit more white. Painting is, I mean, a lot of it's it's about balance. So if you have a little bit too much of a dark color, balance it out with more of the lighter color or its lighter counterpart. Eventually, you're going to want to put in some branches and some thinner trees as well. So for those, really at any point, you can switch over to your other brush. At a certain point, it just kind of becomes like a free-for-all as far as trees are concerned. You'll be working on your own trees, and there'll be a different pattern from what you see up here on this painting. So as long as you have the basic tenets of how to make a tree, we can work from there. Whenever you're ready, perhaps after you add maybe 1 or 2 more of the thicker trees, it just kind of depends on you. This one has 3 thick trees. This one also has 3 thick trees. So anytime you're ready to move on to smaller ones, you can do so.
So
And you
even
can
though you said the basic tenet of how to make a tree, I'm like, what did you say?
Yeah,
Say it again.
yeah, don't worry. I have another one to do. So I need to make more of my light brown. So I'm going to do that for a second here. I also accidentally got a little bit of yellow in my brown, but it's working out. It's not so bad.
Is that the happy tree part?
Yes, happy tree part. Yes.
Okay, cool.
So, once again, I have a lot of paint on my brush. This one will start again, once again, start at the bottom. Stretch it up. I don't want it to be completely straight. So I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and oh no, look, I accidentally pressed down a little too hard. Well, hey, that's okay. I can go back with more paint. Like right there, you can see where I pressed down a little too hard. Can always go in and try and even it out little by little. I kind of feel like making these trees using the smaller brush is a little easier, but that's just me. Again, you still want to have a lot of paint on your brush. So if you need to pause and make more, yeah, I think, yeah, I think Brandy might disagree. So just kind of, weigh it out a little bit. How did that go, by the way? How are you? How's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going.
It's going. It's going.
I started on the other side. The other side seemed to dry faster, so I did try to wipe off a little bit of the clumps, and so I moved away from that, and I thought I'll put more trees there.
And that's totally okay. Put more trees. That's fine.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna keep on working. I'm gonna try to smooth out the edges of my tree as best as I can. I'm gonna double dip into the white paint again. Double dip into the brown paint as needed. Now, some areas, like this same area, I kept going over it again and again, and the more I went over it, that same area that I was trying to equalize and make other parts the same size as this one didn't really turn out so well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pretend that this area is a spot where a branch is gonna grow out. In my head, you guys are more than welcome to disagree with me or agree with me. In my head, I feel like it makes a little bit more sense if you were to make branches come out of these slightly thicker areas. So what I'm doing is I'm going against, I could actually stop there, or I could make it overlap this tree. But really, I'm kind of covering it up in a way. Now you can't really even tell that that was a thicker area because I put a branch over it. And I had the branch cover up that one thick spot. So that's one way to handle things like that. Any other questions about trees? Anybody want me to look at theirs? We can figure it out. Everybody's in concentration mode. I love it.
Yeah, just shout out if you do.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't read our minds.
Not yet. Working on the psychic abilities here.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see. I have one more thicker tree to put in, so I'll go ahead and do that. I tend to like to stick to odd numbers when it comes to like trees or really anything. And really I only do that because a long time ago, once upon a time when I was in high school, my art teacher told me that that's kind of one of the things that makes paintings a little bit more interesting. It's just to do things in odd numbers. So that just kind of stuck with me all these years. So I do things in odd numbers now. Three thick trees, and I'm sure that one has an odd number in there. Haven't tried counting, but I'm sure of it.
Funny what sticks in our brain.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Who would have thought?
I always wonder what things I've said has stuck in someone's brain.
Yeah. It's a really good point. Like,
Well, my mom said I wasn't gifted in singing, so that
Oh,
just
yeah.
so it's like I'm really self-conscious about singing in public.
oh, funny how you should mention singing. This one time years ago when I was little, see, I have a family where they're musicians, they're more musicians, and I'm like the odd one out, I'm the artist. And so I was trying to play piano one of those days, and I think I was in my sister's room or something. Either way, I was using her piano, and she comes in, she opens the door, and she just says, "You're off key." And so like that stuck with me in my head, and
Yeah,
I quit.
yeah. And do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I was I think I was
Because you can get back on piano, it's not about musical ability, it's about learning it,
it's about the practice, exactly.
No. But singing, you can go off key real fast.
Yeah, but piano is a little like, okay, all right, that's off key, but
Yeah, I mean you can correct yourself, that's for sure.
So because of your sister, you're not like a concert pianist. I get it. All right.
Yep. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Katie.
And I'm not a singer.
Yeah, look at what we could have been.
well, you tell your sister we'd like to talk to her.
I know. She
Yeah,
probably
well, let's
doesn't
see
even
her
remember.
paintings. How was her painting?
She was actually a really good painter too. Yep.
You know, those kind of sisters.
Yep. Yep. She
Fun.
actually was really good at everything she touched. So no resentment though, okay? But it's just funny like what actually sticks with us, like what you said, Brandy.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, and it's like sometimes you're like, you remember, oh, I was 12 and I was standing at this, you know, you like the smell and just the most ridiculous
Yeah.
thing, you can paint that picture and then you say like some asinine, like ridiculous thing that you remember, and it like it has no meaning. Oh, you're like, but you remember it for whatever reason. And
Yeah, for whatever reason. I remember things I said like weeks ago to somebody random, and I'm just like, why did I say that?
yeah, and then you're like trying to remember something, you're like, damn, it's gone.
Yeah.
Or like the phone numbers you remember from like a child. And I'm like, I don't need that information. Thank you. Like, let that go. I need other things now.
We need space for other things. Exactly.
Isn't that funny? I can remember mine phone number and my best friend's phone number from high school, but
Wow.
I can't remember. Well, you know, my cell phone holds all my numbers now, so
Right,
I'm
yeah.
surprised that I remember my own phone number sometimes.
I can't remember my cell phone number because it's odd.
Yeah,
It's like so easy that it's odd. You know, it has the area
Yeah.
code and then the first three are 500, you know, it's like what 500 and then there's twos and fours. I'm like, wait, is it 4224 500? What, you know,
Yeah, my partner
Yeah.
the same way. It's like all just even numbers. And I'm like, wait, 6 4 2 6 8 0 4. They're carry
It's
the
so
one.
easy. Yeah, it's so easy. It's actually really hard.
Yeah.
And that's for some reason that I make sure I memorize some numbers
Yeah.
instead of leaving them in context.
that's smart.
Yeah. You lose your phone, you're screwed.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, you could find someone else with a phone, but I'd be like, I have to try to Google them. Yeah, it's impossible. It's yeah.
My apartment building is I guess a little bit off topic, but not quite off topic. But they're under new management now. Okay, so that means changes, and they're wanting to change our locks to a more modern lock in which you use your phone to open up your
Oh, no.
open up your your door. And I'm just like, I can't always find my phone, so I rely on my keys.
Yeah.
Or like, what if I lose my phone? Because that can
Or-
happen.
Or your battery dies. Then
My
what?
partner doesn't even have a smartphone, so he has just a
Exactly.
dumb phone. So he,
Is it-
yeah.
Yeah, he'd be screwed in that case. Yep.
You know, I used to work with seniors before I was one, and now I'm like them. So they would, you know, they would say to me, you know, I called Kaiser and they said, press 2, press 1. I have a rotary phone. And so I'm the rotary phone
Oh
for this
no.
generation.
Oh no.
Don't text me.
Hey, Hannah, real quick,
Uh-huh.
could you show us how to do some of the shading in the trees and maybe show us a bird for those who have to leave a little bit early?
Yes, thank you. So this shading that you see, this is actually the same kind of texture that I was going over earlier. So it's a lot of that double dipping. So taking that brush and getting your brown paint, double dipping, well, getting the light brown, double dipping with either the regular brown or with the white paint. And so it's more about going over it again and again and again. Now, so here's the white paint right on top. Just want to show you that. So let me show you real quick how to put the smaller branches in there too, because we want some branches in which are, oh, good night, Wendy. We want some branches in which our birdies can sit on top of them. So for that one, you may need to employ a little bit of water. So you'll take your brush and just kind of wet the some of the water, or wet some of the paint with a little bit of the water. That way it gets a little bit thinner and you can stretch the branch out.
Did you
So
use your water or did you have clean water?
I use I only have one water right here. So I
I
just
might
grabbed
want
a little
purple.
bit.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can use purple. That, yeah, it shouldn't be enough to tint it,
Okay.
especially if you have a little bit of that brown in there. And then notice how I'm spinning my brush a little bit. Again, this is my round brush, and I like to spin it when I'm doing these kinds of branches. And I can choose one of them. I usually like to do one of the thin trees and then start on the bottom, then have it go upwards. Grab some more. It's always good to have a fresh bit of paint. And then the ones that the birds are going to sit on, they're usually the ones that are a little bit more horizontal. So you can always, here we go. You can always have it go a little bit more horizontal, or at least maybe even attach another branch to it. For this guy right here, this is a branch that belongs to a tree that you can't even see. So what I did was I made sure that I can stretch this branch across everything else. So make sure you have the rest of your trees in place before you put this branch right here. So for me, I'm good with just a few trees as well. I'm going to put that in there the same way that I put everything else. Stretch it downward. And this one can definitely be a little bit thicker. Doesn't have to be a thin tree branch. And that water is helping me to stretch it a little further, a little faster. So now there's plenty of space for some birdies to rest on. And I can even, maybe even have another branch that kind of sits on top of one of my front facing trees, the thicker trees. Have that go across as well.
Haven't the birds gone south?
These are winter birdies.
Oh,
Yeah, cardinals don't go.
I think I want to say maybe certain robins stay as well. All I know is that I typed in winter birds. A bunch of them popped up.
I think that's a big reason why cardinals are state birds in so many places, because they're
Mm.
omnipresent. They just never leave.
They just stay. Yeah.
Get rid of them.
There we go. Got some branches.
Hannah, I have a couple of other winter birds.
Yeah.
Sure. So a waxing, a bohemian waxing. They're very poofy, very adorable. The cardinal, of course, is the iconic one.
Of course.
The American robin also does stay around locally for winter.
Oh yeah, I think I knew that.
A titmouse, which yes, that is the correct term. My grandmother's a big fan of birds, and we do have titmice at our house. So titmouse.
Yeah, tufted titmouse. We have them here.
And then woodpeckers, of course, too.
Woodpeckers, yeah.
And my favorite, magpies.
Oh yeah, they're
Ah.
And blue jays too, right? Blue jays?
Do they stay around?
I think so.
They do in Texas, at least.
oh well.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like I
I
see
think
crows
they
year
do that
round.
here too in California.
I have crows too, yeah. Crows don't go anywhere.
Well,
So
vultures.
so for anybody who's wondering, or well, also anybody who needs to leave soon too, I want to show you guys how to create this this texture in the tree. So this is what I feel like is a signature of birch trees. It's this kind of very rough texture. So that's gray, and that's where that black paint is going to come in handy. Now, if you have gray already, then of course that's the ideal. The only reason I say that is because I have a mix or a tube of like a pre-mixed gray. But if you don't, then what you can do is mix a little bit of black with a lot of white. Now I say a lot, but really you're not really going to need too much overall. Be great if it would pour out. There we go. Okay. And if you wanted to really get fancy, you could actually mix a little bit of brown in it too. Totally optional. I've got my lovely gray here. I want to start off pretty light at first. Then I can always add a little bit of darker grays on top. So I am going to use my round brush for this part. These brush strokes are very, very streaky. And I am going to start off with my horizontal brush strokes. So these guys here, not quite that one. That one's more vertical, but these more horizontal ones. I'll just start off kind of small and see how it goes. Now I say streaky because we kind of want not very much paint on our brush because that allows for the texture of the canvas to show through if there's not as much. And I tend to make these kinds of textures in a pattern, like it's just natural for our brains to just want to do everything in a pattern and do it the same way again and again. So if you can notice those patterns, try and steer away from it. Like I tend to do things in threes. That's why you see that. So maybe just do one here and there. Maybe make a conscious effort to do maybe 5 in one spot. Maybe stretch out some of your textures into, longer pieces and some of them a little bit shorter perhaps.
So that color was just black and white, right?
Yeah, black and white.
No blue in there. Kind of looks bluey. Okay.
That's probably the lighting, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I am going to add a little bit of my brown. Change it up a little bit, kind of tint it a little bit different. You can see the difference there. It's a subtle difference, but it's there. And really at any time you can go in and you can create some of your vertical textures. So I'm gonna go in there, maybe do a few that are up and down. Not too many. See, there I go in making these textures in threes again. You'll get the hang of it too. And I do want to put a little bit of that texture up here in some of the smaller branches. Maybe I'll put it in here just because this branch is blending into the tree behind it. So that's the only reason I'm doing that. So it does help to help it to distinguish the branches from each other. There we go. So just kind of work on that at your own pace. And I'll show you how to do birdies. Now, all of my birdies start off very similarly. really, I'll only change them if I accidentally maybe make the head a little bit too big. Maybe I make the body a little bit too big. And so then that's when the birds become a little bit more unique, I would say. But I embrace it, and there's, ways to change it. Some birds are a little bit more rounded in like with their bodies. Some of them have broader shoulders, so you can think about that. Some of them have smaller heads. Some of them have, heads almost as large as their bodies. Some of them have more fan tails. Some of them have longer, perhaps straighter tails. So that's kind of one thing you can think about when you're doing your birdies. I will start off with a red birdie, a cardinal, so you guys can see how those guys are made. Now we really just need a tiny little bit of red, unless you're planning on dotting like, I don't know, 50 cardinals. That's a lot of birdies. So just need a little bit. I'm also, what was that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't know what a flock of cardinals is, but a flock of crows is a murder.
I don't think I've ever seen more than like 3 cardinals in one spot anyway.
Yeah, they're not really flock birds.
Yeah.
I'd call it a trio.
A trio, there you go. Okay, so I'm using my my round brush. However, this is a good time if you have a tiny brush, you can bring that out. Of course, it's going to help you to get a little bit more precision. But this tutorial is for those who don't have a tiny brush. So I'm going to grab my red. And I always, no matter what, I always like to start off with the shoulders of the bird. And then I'll taper it down into the wings. And then I might do a few little feathers of the tail. Then I'll jump back up and I'll do the what is it, the head. And then after I make the head, I'll create the little the signature cardinal, like the feathers in the back of the head. It's got to be a name for that. So let's pick a spot. I tend to like doing the spots in which my cardinals are gonna be larger. So for me, that's gonna be down here. So I'll start above my, well, really kind of well above my branch here. I'm actually going to put this in so you guys closer so you guys can see it a little bit better. There we go. Hopefully that does it. Okay. So I have a good amount of paint at the end of my brush. And I'm going to start off with the shoulders. I'm going to move my hand, or you can move your painting. And then I'm going to taper it down to the end of the wings.
Like a
So
tall
this
heart.
cardinal, yeah, like a heart. Yeah, that's perfect. Like a tall heart. I can even have my brush face downward so that it's pointing downward. Now it has its back turned towards us. So you guys can see that with this one. This is what I'm doing. Its back is turned towards us. And then I'm going to stretch it even further down. This is the tail. So it's kind of like the ends of the wings are blending in with the tail. And then I'm going to jump up to the head. I'm changing the position of my brush to be more comfortable. So I'm going to very slowly put that head in there. Just looks like a lump right now. This point is going to point outward. so that I can more easily put that signature head feather like that. The head feather points out, and so does my brush. Now I do want to shape the head just a little bit more, as best as I can. Maybe smooth it out a little bit more. I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I put the black paint on top. In case you missed that, I have another cardinal to make. So maybe I can have another one that faces that way, maybe. So same thing, but it's facing the other way. Again, I'm going to make a tall heart with plenty of space for it to be sitting on top of the branch. And I'm starting with the shoulders. I'm going to have it taper down. I'm always going to make sure I have a good amount of paint on my brush. Tapering down, so the feathers are going down. Perhaps my tail, I could have the tail blend into the ends of the feathers again, or I can have them kind of facing a different direction, maybe a little more angled. So that was the tail. And then I can jump up. I'm going to refill my brush and jump up to the head. Very slowly put that in there. Going to start off as a lump right on top of the shoulders. And already to me, that already looks like a different type of bird. So if this were any other color, I could leave it as is. And it's already a different bird. So for this part, I want to put that signature head feather. So since my little birdie is facing the opposite direction, I'm moving my canvas to make it a little more easy for me to drag the pointy part right at the top there. Trying to fix it. Don't forget to take a deep breath because that's a lot of very careful planning of birdies. So breathe.
My brown is
Alright.
getting dry.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna make a different color bird. And I think I want to make a birdie that's a little bit shorter than these guys. I do want these guys to dry a little bit more because I used a lot of paint there. So I'm gonna
Hannah,
rinse my brush.
do you add beaks to them and eyes? Or are
We
they just
do,
good
yeah.
like that? Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious for myself.
Yeah, so we're gonna let them dry. That's why. So they're just gonna be partial birds, and then we'll add the tinier features after that once they dry a little bit more.
I just didn't know if it was like, I don't know what the art style is, but it kind of, you imagine it like it's an outline and then you do the imagining.
Like a silhouette, maybe.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
No,
good,
we
because
yeah.
mine are definitely not birds.
What are they?
They're for the advanced people, and I'm just going out on a limb.
Well, I still can't wait to see them. Jeanette, yes, thank you. Would you like to show us your work before you leave? You're on mute, or yeah. Oh,
Wow, that's beautiful.
You can see
what a
Yeah, we can see it.
job.
Well,
That's
it was more
gorgeous.
challenging because actually even though it says they blend well, they really didn't.
Ah.
And what I did is I drew in where I thought I would put birch trees because
Mhm.
otherwise it would be the white going over the color would not have worked. I was able,
Yeah,
so
yeah, different
only two
medium.
birds. But thank
They're
you.
Jeanette, we're so
beautiful.
proud of you. You did amazing. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
It's gorgeous. Thank
thank you very-
you. Have a good night, Jeanette.
You too. And I will look forward to the next class and I'll try to figure out how I can stay, be in a place where do you end at 7? Is that it?
We just
Um,
typically end whenever we end, but we're always happy if you tell us if you have a time commitment or something. We can make sure to get the class in, just let
Mhm.
us know.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. And thank you, Karen, for
Mhm.
for inviting me.
Yeah,
I
We
had
hope to
fun
have
with
you
the birch
back.
tree.
Good night.
yeah.
Good night.
Good night, Jeanette.
We've
Good night.
only known each other for 40 years.
That's it, just 40?
Yeah.
You're telling my age. No, I'm
Great.
kidding. Take care.
She was 12.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Does anybody else, would anyone else like to share real quick?
Yes, I'm gonna be going soon.
Yeah. There you are,
Tony.
Tony.
How many paintings did you make?
Man.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you have little deers
The
back
deer.
there.
That's
That
cool.
was it.
Dear.
I
Oh,
know. Beautiful,
beautiful.
Tony.
Love it. Oh my
Gorgeous.
gosh.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Man.
Great
Yeah.
job,
Please
Tony.
send it in so we can put it in our gallery.
Yes.
I will
Everybody,
do.
really. Thank you,
Thanks, guys. Have
Tony.
a good night.
Good night.
You too.
Hi, Tony.
Okay.
Is
there
there
anyone
anybody-
else?
Oh, Jinx, Hannah, I'm sorry.
If not, I'll just show you my last little birdie.
My bird is so unhappy.
It's okay. We'll see what we can do. I'm trying to make like a
Trying not to push that undo button, but it's very tempting.
Okay, so I have another little birdie color, and this little birdie is going to be a little shorter, a little fatter. So again, I'm going to start above the branch, and I'm going to start at the shoulders. And I want this guy to be a bit more rounded. So he's not going to have quite the heart shape. Still going to taper down though. I realize now that might be a little tough to see. I'm gonna put a little more brown and red in there. I want you guys to see that well enough. And then I'm gonna make the tail. Again, it's gonna come outward. And then his little head. Maybe I can have the head be a different color. Maybe it'll just be all white. Very unique birdie. And there we have it. Got its little head in there. Okay, well, you guys can't really see that head. So, changing it up. There we go. It's a little brown bird. Again, its back is to us. Just to make him a little more colorful, I'll add a little bit of yellow in there. Okay. Now, my little cardinals should be good to go. So, for the beak, well, let me show you this one real quick. This is the other painting. I was able to use, what was it? That darker mustardy yellow that I told you guys about. So if you have orange, that would be great. If not, then we can either use yellow, just plain yellow by itself, or you can perhaps mix yellow and red if you really want orange color. So we'll put the beak in there first, and then we'll put black on top of it. So I rinsed my brush. Now I rinsed it and then lost it. Here it is. Typical day. All right, so I have my yellow, and once again, even though that beak is teeny tiny, I still want a good amount on my brush. Now, my beak on this little guy is pointing that way, so my brush is also going to point that way. Very little bits at a time. Now, do you guys need me to darken it up a bit? Because I don't know how well you guys can see that.
It
the
looks
sake of
good
you
from
guys-
here.
Oh, good. Okay. Wasn't sure. Okay, good.
Some
Well,
of
I already-
us, some of us can't imitate it, but we can see it.
You got this, Karen. I believe in you.
Not the bird.
So,
If I
other
had
little
sense, I
birdie.
wouldn't do it, but I'm just like, it's okay.
It is okay.
Haven't even
So-
got the birds yet.
I know, me either.
Okay.
Well, I haven't finished my trees, but
Well, yeah, I'm still working on trees and like the limbs that the birds might sit on.
Yeah, because you had a lot of waiting to do.
I did.
Yeah. Now I have another little beak to get in there.
Hannah, will we go back and add more white to the bottom,
To which area?
to the bottom background?
Oh, no, we're pretty much finished with the background. What's the issue you're seeing?
It's too much yellow, I think.
So in that case, have you been able to put any birds in there yet?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, then that's okay. What you can do is take your flat brush again,
Okay.
and just in some areas, you'll have to be more careful. But I'm trying to rinse my brush so I can show you. Here we go. You'll have to be a little more careful, and definitely only do this when your birds are completely dry. But you can go and you can take a little bit of your white,
Okay.
a little at a time, and just work it in there by very lightly putting it in there, just in some spots. Like, you're not going to be able to get to mute a lot of that or all of that yellow, but
Okay.
at least in some areas you can.
Okay.
And you see how much or how little I put on there?
Yes.
Little bits at a time. I'm going to try to get close to my bird, but it may not work out. And that's okay. Just little bits. Let's say maybe I wanted to mute a lot of this right here. And I want to get really close to my tree. So what I'm going to do here, I have to move my brush. I'm going to put some down. Then I'm going to very lightly fan it outward as best as I can. And I'm going to go even further than the tree because, it might end up looking a little intentional.
Right.
Definitely want to blend it in a bit. So definitely go out much further than it seems like you need. Like
Okay.
out here too. But just little bits of white at a time should do the trick.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to put that black paint on there. So I rinsed off the yellow that I had for the beaks. And I'm gonna go to my black paint here. And trying to remember. Oh yes. So cardinals, they have like a little streak right where their eyes are supposed to be. As far as the tails are concerned, I think I didn't quite look that up enough, so I have to look up what the tails look like. But definitely right by the eyes, we want to put a little swath of black paint there.
Hannah,
Is-
your bird anatomy is correct.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Thank you, Alexa. See, I'm so happy you're here for this. Fact checking me. There we go.
That's why you
Now be-
guys make such a wonderful team.
Thank you. I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this little bit in there too.
You look,
Now,
you seem like, on TV when they have interviews and it looks all spontaneous. But they planned this.
well,
But I
we were
believe you're
just
spontaneous.
talking earlier, and
See?
Alexa Alexa reminded me that I've known her for almost 3
3
years now.
years.
Yeah, it's been a while. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of black in my little short birdie over here, like on the tail. Now I'm making this birdie up. I don't like there's no particular species for this guy. He just has a little bit of black right there on the tail. I'm just making that up.
Kind of looks like an Oriole. They're orange and black and
Okay.
but
Gonna put a little bit of black down here as well. And then for eyeballs.
eyeballs.
Eyeballs, yeah. Well, cardinals, they're gonna have little beady eyes, right? And we already have black paint right there. So we're gonna leave it at that because it's so tiny, not gonna be able to see any eyes. If you have any other birdies, you can try to put some little dots in there, but I wouldn't worry about it too much if you can't, or if you don't think your hand is going to be steady enough for a little dot. If you have a tiny little brush, then maybe you can make it work. But see, even then, I made a little tiny dot there, and I kind of feel like that's a little too big. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then our birdies are going to need some legs. So that's
Oh
going to
my
be
God. Wonder I stopped on the bird.
the little need to, it's okay.
I think
Now I
mine's
want to
gonna
show
be a
you.
scarf.
I actually was only able to put one set of legs on one birdie in one of my paintings. So don't feel so bad.
I
And in
feel like
fact-
the bird is sassy. Like I just get so much attitude of the way
Yeah.
he's sitting there. I'm just like, I don't want to mess
Oh,
with
that
him.
one, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a stance on him.
Yeah.
Now I am gonna lighten up my black paint. I'm gonna make a gray for this part because I don't want it to stand out too much. So I'm just gonna, you guys can't see it. Just gonna make a little gray. I could make a brown if I want to, kind of mix it all together if I wanted.
So I haven't
And
done
then,
the gray things on the birch yet. Should I do birds next or the
oh,
other?
I would do the texture. Yeah, are you talking about this part right here?
Yeah,
the
that's
gray.
great, right?
Yeah, I would definitely do those first.
Okay.
Yeah, I started on the birds and now I'm back to the
I
text.
think I'm giving up on the bird.
It's too late for me to undo the bird.
Well, I'm not, yeah, I can't undo it, but I don't think I'm gonna add another one.
So it might help if you're doing the legs. It could help you to add a little bit of water to it. Just, what I'm doing is I'm taking my water and just dipping once and then taking it back and adding it to my little bit of paint here. Now that's probably a little much water, but I can at least scrape it around. Helps me to get a finer point.
Oh, is the gray, did you also add water to the gray? Is that right?
Not for the texture, not the
Oh.
texture.
Okay.
Because
all right.
because we want that grainy texture that comes out.
Okay.
Now, if you still have it in you to do some legs, then then you wouldn't need to do much, just 2 little lines
All right,
like
I'll do
that.
some legs.
A little bit of a guilt trip.
Why do any legs? They're
kidding.
leaving the room.
They're walking away.
Yep.
They so these little legs, they just bend backwards because they're birdies. And I really only have room for maybe like part of the leg. There we go. And that's all I'm gonna do for these little guys.
The legs did it. Look.
Like when you did
I think maybe I should have left the legs off.
You could try to if you don't want the legs anymore, depending on your birdie's position, you might be able to make the shoulders a little bit wider, to enough to cover it up if you wanted to.
Right.
Or maybe even add more to the tail if you wanted to do that too.
Hannah, I do have a question. So one of
Yes.
my favorite hashtags is babes with mobility aids.
Oh yeah, I love
Would
that one
it be
too.
possible to add a mobility aid to one of the birds?
Aw, like what kind though?
What did you say?
Like,
Is that, what did you say is the
The
site?
hashtag is babes with mobility aids.
Oh,
and it-
babes with mobility.
and
Okay.
it shows different people with mobility aids, and I just love it. So I was thinking, just due to the fact, like, I don't know if you know what an AFO is. Maybe the bird could have something on his leg or something where it helps him to be mobile.
could it be? Like, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an AFO, so I'm not quite sure
It's
what
sort
that
of like a
looks
leg
like.
brace.
Is
a
that one
leg
of those
brace?
round things that goes around the calf? You see, like in
Oh, the
It's a
gate thing?
brace. But since
Ah.
it's a bird, since it's a bird, it could also just have like a little cast on its leg.
He
or
could,
something.
Yeah. Could
or
have a
put a
little
cane next
cast.
to it or a
He could have a
walker.
cane.
Aw. Or even a prosthetic leg,
He could
honestly.
have a
Like,
prosthetic.
he could. Like,
Yep.
I feel like if you were to do that, then I would do a color that maybe stands out a little bit. Purple or blue, perhaps.
I like that idea.
Like, yeah, because I feel like it would be able to register as something different about the bird if it were a different color. I'm trying to think what else you could do.
Well, I could tell
Even-
you, I'm out with my walker all the time, and I got a big mouth. People don't see the walker. They're like, "You're fine." It's like, I have a walker.
They
I
don't
can't
see
walk.
the walker. Jeez.
Climb that mountain.
Man. I think it's funny that, well, I like that you say that you have a big mouth, because like it makes you stand out, because I feel like you would definitely tell them off if they said something wrong.
I do, but it doesn't help.
Some people need to hear it though.
Well, my trees got really blurry, and I was trying to do something, and
Mhm.
there I can define my trees now. Like you say, there's no accidents.
or happy accidents.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a happy accident. It's like, oh, okay.
Now, does anybody want to show us their work? The little legs of the birdies, that was the last portion of the painting. So,
I
um,
erased my legs, but I'll show you mine.
yeah, where are you? There you are.
Oh,
There we
Oh.
go. That's
I
gorgeous.
love
I know.
The
The
birds
sky.
seem so introspective, just thinking.
Really?
know,
I
it's
see
just-
the
it's
bird as
looking-
looking out, like looking out at all of this expanse is
I
mine.
Yeah.
feel like
See, I
it's
picture him just like looking in wonder at the sky, like how
Yes.
how am I floating in midair with no
Yeah.
legs?
how do I exist as a bird? How does this work?
how do I bird?
How do
We
I
just don't
bird?
see his mobility aids. He may be an
No.
amputee, and that's allowing him to live his
It's
best
just-
life. He
That's
is an
right.
inspiration to us all.
Which
I love
is
I
why
love
he's
him.
not with the flock, because he's mobility impaired.
Exactly.
It's very
He's a loner cardinal.
introspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you for
It's
showing
going to be harder
us.
to hang on my refrigerator than all my others. Look, Hannah, I just want to show you my refrigerator.
All right, I'll put you back on
Yeah.
spotlight so we can
We
see
all
your
wanna
refrigerator.
see-
Yeah,
we
we
all
all
wanna
want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, open up your refrigerator.
Hey, there's your
Oh,
owl.
and the owl.
Owen. Hey, I love it. Can you send that to us so we can put that in our gallery too?
Yes.
Love that.
A picture of the refrigerator?
Yes.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
looks good together.
I will do that. Yes.
Woohoo. Thank
So
you.
a secret that you may or may not know is we actually have a lot of big people who come to look at our art gallery. We have people from pharmaceutical companies. We have people from other nonprofits.
No
Our
pressure.
art gallery is one of the highest viewed web pages that we have at AnCan, and people love it. So when I say
Mhm.
that when you send our art, people are looking at it every single day. They love it, and it gets sent around, like I said, at pharmaceutical companies, at other nonprofits. And we actually, this is in development right now, but we're working on doing some veterans art classes, and we were able to get some sponsors because your art sold it. They looked at the art gallery and they're like, "This is great."
Yep.
Of course.
They're
So-
like, oh, I know that Andrea girl. She can't even draw a stick figure. Look what Hannah did with her.
It doesn't even, I don't even, I think the work just speaks for itself. Well, you haven't done the trees yet, right? Because my friend Josie, who comes to every AnCan group, nobody knows, but she always looks afterwards and said, oh, I watched it yesterday. And she keeps talking about being
Aw.
part of the group. And then I'm like, you're the silent partner in the group.
Oh, I
She
love
came to
that.
So she
Be a
came
part
to
of
the
group,
workshop.
but
'cause
you
I don't
don't
think
interact with the group.
I sent it to you, Alexa, but you didn't do the trees. So she sent the tree. She did the tree, and she's an artist. She knows how to do,
Oh,
she's
the
an
markers.
artist, like, she knows how to do stuff. So she did a tree that looked like yours. My tree didn't. So I sent her my tree. She sent me her tree. So I put them on one page, and I wrote to her, I said, my tree, your tree. And then she goes, and the tree of us.
Aw, I love that.
But that one I would love to see in the gallery, because it's just like so
Yeah.
amazing. Because I never did art that we can both make something that looks like what?
Yeah. Yeah, she's more than welcome to send it to us.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
she
haven't.
can.
I'll send it. She won't send it, but I don't think I know. I think I sent my tree, but then you didn't post them, so I didn't, no pressure. I didn't want you to feel like.
No, maybe I forgot to send it to Alexa because Alexa does that, so that could have been all me.
No, there haven't been trees on the website.
Yeah. We
Okay,
haven't,
again.
unfortunately, we're not getting as much art sent to us, which we're trying to get.
Oh, why don't
Again,
you
it could
just
be
reach
me.
out to certain
Hint,
people?
hint.
Well, why don't you just reach out and say, hey, do you have anything for?
Please send us.
Yeah.
So would anyone else like to show your art? You could still be working. Okay.
Anna Marie?
Yes. Come on down. Let me spotlight you.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Wow.
Beautiful. Oh, and your birdies, they're gorgeous.
Thanks.
I'm loving the textures on your birches too. Like I
Yeah.
really feel like it gives them so much personality.
Looks like it's a freaking Hallmark
Beautiful.
card.
It
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Really? Really? It's beautiful.
I was really looking forward to this class. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Good.
Oh, wonderful. We're so glad that you're here.
I
Yeah.
can show you
Anybody
what I
else?
did.
Yeah.
I'm not dying. I'll show it last.
Yeah. Susie. I see you,
Susie.
Susie.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
You
Whoa,
I don't
have
know.
a flock of
bird.
cardinals.
Yeah. Well, I tried to
know.
draw the brown one, but it didn't turn out, so I just this went over it in red. That's the big fluffy one here.
Gotcha.
I tried to do the brown, it didn't come out, so I just did the red.
I love them. Oh man.
I love it.
I love them
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Especially the background too. Like I'm loving the textures that I'm seeing too.
Oh, thank you. I thought I went too
Beautiful.
crazy with the yellow back here, but maybe
No,
not.
it
I like it.
really
No, I like
draws your
it.
eye.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you, Susie. Great
Yeah.
job.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. It was
Thank
fun.
you guys.
Yeah. Oh, very fun.
Beautiful. Who else is next?
Marianne unmuted.
There
Oh
we
my
go.
gosh.
Marianne.
I love it.
Oh,
Your
I like
birds
that.
are perfect.
The purple is
Wow.
my favorite.
I know. I
Oh,
love that
thank you.
purple.
It
and
looks
against
like
the yellow and the blue.
it looks like I'm looking at the sky with a what is it? A purple cloud, but it's at twilight. So it's more
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah.
reflection of the sun. It's like the colors that are projecting onto the cloud at twilight. And I love the textures that I'm seeing in the trees too. They're beautiful.
It's
Oh,
making me
thank
have
you.
such good feelings. Sort of like
Mhm.
Hannah, my mind went to that. I'm having such good
Yeah.
feelings right now. Thank you,
And es-
Marianne. Great
And
job.
especially
Thank
your
you.
birds too. Your birds are so well done.
I love
Yeah.
the
Oh,
birds.
well.
I do think they look good.
They're
Thank you.
awesome birds.
Yeah.
You all have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night, Marianne.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night. Bye.
I'm gonna say
Bye.
good night now too.
Good
Yeah, me
night,
too.
Anna
Yes.
Marie. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Can I show you real quick next month's class?
Yes. Here.
There it
Ooh.
is.
Ooh. I
There
like
it
this.
is.
I like that.
So it's a recreation, really a simplified version of one of Claude Monet's water lilies paintings, because like this guy like is a genius when it comes to like texture and motion and color, everything really. So I tried to simplify it as much as I could. This is Monet's water lilies for next month.
Oh,
Oh my
very
gosh, I
good.
can't wait.
Since
Yay.
we've done Van Gogh and now we're going to do Monet. You are a miracle
on.
worker, Hannah.
Moving on.
Miracle worker.
Right, guys.
I can see we're gonna have our own gallery. Oh,
Very
we do.
nice.
We already do.
Yes.
You know, today I was putting in AnCan for whatever. And then it said, then you get that feedback. It said, can? Did you say can?
Can, yep.
Well,
Yep, I
thank
see
you. I
that.
had a great time. Happy holidays to everybody.
You
Yeah,
too.
happy
Bye,
holidays, everyone.
Susie.
Bye,
Good night,
guys.
Anna Marie.
Bye.
Good
Good
night,
night, Anna
Anna
Marie.
Bye, guys.
I'm still working on mine. Can I just show you what I did? My bird is dying.
Absolutely.
Well, my yellow
Sure.
bird is really in trouble. Considering that I don't even know what I'm working with here. Am I using watercolors? Am I using paint? Am I using what? Come on, Karen, you can do it. My right hand is so weak.
There we go.
Oh my
That's
gosh. I love it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
I gave up on the
Awesome,
yellow bird. I
Karen.
couldn't do the head. I was like, okay, let me just go back to the other.
Oh,
I
you
like
did
it.
I
so
love
well
it.
with
You
that
did.
though. You really did. I'm trying to like put together the things that you said like you were having issues with, and I can't see it, but
I
it
can't
looks so
either.
good.
Oh, you know what the issues were, but I kind of fixed them. Some of this, with MS, you
Oh.
don't have memory, but
some of it just to get the color, I use the
Mhm.
smudge brush. And sometimes I think, well, I cheat too
Oh.
much with the smudge brush, but because I can't do the watercolor. So then I just I was doing something and then I think I was making another branch. And then I just decided to shade the edge of the tree. So yeah, you don't see it because I shaded the edge of the tree. So it's not just a mushy blur. But
Oh,
what
it's
do I do?
great.
What do I do about that yellow bird? It needs help. I don't have any skills I'm like the red. I'm like, just leave it alone. It's fine. It's fine the way it is. Just leave it alone.
About the birdie, up
Hannah, to
there.
me, that looks like a woodpecker because woodpeckers are bigger. And I think if Karen added a
Yeah.
head, that could be because I've seen woodpeckers kind of that color.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
me
doesn't have a
too.
head. And because it's yellowish, it's not going to stand out like a red mess.
It's not well, okay. So then what can we do? I think if you were to maybe start with a brown as the head, but
Uh-huh.
then you draw the brown and then you draw whatever kind of markings you want on top of the head with black. And then you come back down into the tail and you put some brown into the tail. That way you're sort of making everything come full circle and come together.
So which direction is the head going to go? Towards the tree. Duh, it's a woodpecker, even if it isn't, right?
I was thinking a little more inward because I can, like, at least for me, it kind of seems like the tail is no. The tail is is facing more inward, right? It's a little hard to tell.
It's just a mess. That one's a mess.
It's the blurriness of the camera. Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. And
Um,
actually the colors look better and wow, they look really good on the side.
On
So
the side.
I'll send it to you, but
Yeah, I think
finished.
maybe if the birdie were to face that way, like towards the edge of the page, towards the
Oh, okay,
closest
yeah,
edge of the
towards the
page.
tree.
Yeah, exactly, towards the tree.
Yeah.
I think if it were to face that way, draw it in there using a light brown, perhaps even the one by your finger I see over there. And
Oh,
then
I know what you're saying.
yeah,
That's
and
the
then
color of
turn
the
around.
tree, so it has to be okay.
I think it'll be okay though. I think it'll all fit together. And then you come around and you put that same brown somewhere else in the feathers. Perhaps the tail would be good, just to have it all match.
As if I know what a tail looks like.
Oh, Karen, just a tail, just marking.
Sure. Oh my God. And then I was looking at it in the other direction. I'm like, oh no, now it has to go that way. I just feel like satisfied with the painting enough that I have to do, I don't want to kill the bird.
That's how I felt. I decided to go without the legs.
Brandy or Brian, would you like to share?
Yeah.
Okay, Brandy.
Brandy's ready. She's ready to go.
Brandy's ready.
I mean, so
There we go.
Oh my God.
Clean.
a bird yet. I'm getting ready to do a bird.
You're smart. You're
Getting
smart.
there.
It's so beautiful.
I
Oh,
know,
the trees.
Your trees are awesome.
trees.
I didn't
I
know
have
Those
They're-
branches.
those gray lines on the birch really. So then I started doing brown lines too.
I love it.
I
That's
do.
what-
I
that was-
love it.
That was gonna be the first thing I was gonna compliment you on because it's very stylized, but like in such an amazing way. It makes it creates a really interesting texture and a really interesting dynamic when you look at them all together. So really, you did such a good
Amazing job, Brandy. Brandy, you are awesome, and you've been killing it in art lately.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
All right, so
And
you say when we do a bird, we make a red heart first, right?
Yeah, an elongated red heart. Thanks to Andrea for pointing that out. Yep.
All right, Brian, here we go. The big
Yay,
reveal.
Brian. There we go.
I love the purple
I
and
love
blue at the
that.
top.
Yep.
I love the purple and blue, but really I love the yellow towards the bottom.
yeah, that's
Like,
amazing.
Yeah, that part really stands out in a really good way. Like the textures that you put in it, I feel like it blends in nicely with the background.
And I like that your birds are having a meeting. I don't know what
know.
they're discussing, but they are having some sort of convention meeting.
The state of the worms.
you,
love
Brian.
it.
So I am going to end the recording here. I want to give a couple of thank yous because this is our last one of 2022. I, of course, want to thank all of our participants because none of this could have been possible without you. I also want to give a big thank you to Rick Davis. He asked me last year, Alexa, if AnCan could have anything you want, what would it be? And I said, I want an art class. I want an art class for all of our communities to come together.
Woo.
And he said, then go make it happen. And he allowed me to apply for the grant that we used to start this program. And I want to give a big thank you to Rick for supporting me through this and allowing us to do this. So thank you, everybody. Whatever it is you celebrate, just know that we are celebrating you and we're always going to be here. All of our meetings this month, by the way, are going on as planned. We're having no changes for the holiday season, and we will see you next year. Good night, everybody.
Yay.
Everyone.